Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 507 of Ink in Your Veins. I'm Rachael Herron, and today I am here with my friend Holly Bowen. You're going to love this podcast, love this interview. We talk about how do you know when that dream of yours is worth pursuing? When can you take yourself seriously? When might a retreat be worth it? It is delightful and charming and wonderful. Please stick around for it. You're going to love it. What has been going on around here? More writing, more joyful writing. I am super, super happy about the writing that I've been doing. And I am not saying that it is good because this is first drafting. It's awful. Today I wrote an info dump. Many of you will know what an info dump is. An info dump is where the writer tells the reader what they need to know in plain English, sometimes through expository narration, sometimes through dialogue, but really what it is it's the author saying, "Oh, the reader doesn't know this and they need to know this, so I'm gonna tell them right here." It is annoying. You know it when you see it. You know it, oftentimes we know it when we do it, or it is pointed out to us by editors, and then our job is to pull back and just sprinkle in the bare minimum of what the reader has to know while not telling them too much about things that they have to know because our readers love to put things together in their minds. They love to be asked to make leaps of understanding. When they make a leap of understanding, when they put things together, they are part of the work itself. And that is what is so pleasurable. One of the many things that is so pleasurable to a reader. And today I wrote it joyfully. I wrote that info dump absolutely with all the joy in my heart because I know later I will fix it. And right now, what I'm doing is I'm telling it to myself. What is my main character's backstory? Oh, here's her backstory. Her mother met her father this way. They grew up this way and had this particular trauma. And this is, in fact, where Amelia comes from, where how she became who she is today in one awful paragraph. And I will go further and I will tell you that that is the only damn paragraph that I wrote today because I just didn't have time. I was running between I was running between really awesome appointments, talking to people, and also very small dog emergencies and cat dramas and cleaning things up that I didn't want to clean up and helping Lala do things that I didn't want to spend my time doing. And here's the cool thing is that I got back to the desk pretty frustrated and I only had 20 minutes before a 2-hour meeting would start. And in the past, I would have absolutely never written. 20 minutes is, I knew it was technically enough, but I would always, find something else that's probably pretty important to do in those 20 minutes. And instead, I leapt into the writing. And in those 20 minutes, I only got 209 words, because I do track these things, 209 words of info dump. And I'm so happy because it was fun and because I wanted to, because I want to be there. And I am so excited about the things that I have been learning about my own process and about the processes of people I talk to on this podcast and students that I work with. And I've been teasing this particular webinar that I'm going to be launching probably later this week. It's called Beyond Affirmations. It's going to be, I think, a 90-minute webinar. There's going to be some time during the webinar to try the stuff that I'm going to be teaching. It's going to be affordable. It's going to be free to people who are members of my Ink Village. Um, but you do probably want to be on my mailing list, rachelherron.com/write. If you want to hear about this first so that you can sign up for it. It's the webinar is called Beyond Affirmations, Mind Body Tools That Actually Unlock Your Creative Flow. Because affirmations are good and great and all that, but I don't particularly personally resonate with affirmations because if I'm saying an affirmation of something like I write every day with ease and joy, my brain screams at me, no, you don't. No, you don't. You're lying. How am I going to trust a lying liar? Stop it, brain. And then we're done. So in this course, you learn how to move beyond affirmations of we're going to do some thought work basically borrowed from CBT, from cognitive behavioral therapy. And we're also going to be looking at releasing some physical tension using some breath work and some gentle movement, non-embarrassing, very simple movement to access the natural creative state that is kind of hiding, scared underneath your nervous system. Basically, we're borrowing techniques from CBT practices and somatic therapy to help with creative challenges adapted specifically for writers. I will say this very clearly, and I'll keep saying this. I am not a therapist. I am not a mental health professional, but there are easy to use and safe tools that we can use and hack and throw into our toolbox. You know that I am a proponent for you creating and making your own writing toolbox. And this has just kind of been life-changing for me, putting these two kinds of practices together so that I am eager to get to the page and very, very gentle with myself when I do. So I'd love to have you along for it. That'll be coming out pretty soon. Be on my mailing list, rachelherron.com/write. And I'm excited. What else am I excited about? I am excited about this ring. If you're on the podcast, or sorry, if you're on the YouTube feed, you can see it, and most of you are not. It is a squarish ring set in silver, and the stone inside is green. It actually matches my Punamu necklace, but that was not planned um, quite well. But it is a piece of green sea glass that I picked up near Shelley Bay here in Wellington, and I took a sea glass ring jewelry class. If you look at my instagram.com/Rachael Herron, you can see it on there. I am, I can't quite tell you how happy I am with this bloody ring. Honestly, and I say bloody because there's also a chunk out of my finger that I took with the setting. I don't know what it's called. Some kind of setting all that I was using when I was actually setting the stone itself. Stabbed myself really well. But it was an all day class. It was 9 to 5:30 or 6. And it was a class that the teacher normally teaches in 6 or 8 weeks. And they decided to put it together into one day, which I thought was phenomenal because that's the way I prefer to work anyway. I went into the class super excited about making a ring with sea glass in it. And I decided, of course, that this would be my new thing. I would buy all the stuff. I would be making jewelry. I'd probably be selling it at the farmers markets on the weekends. I have done this before, y'all. When I wrote Fiona's Flame, Fiona works at, she owns an auto body shop, and she also on the side makes jewelry out of pieces of cars that she repurposes into jewelry and sells them at her auto body shop/gas station. I doing research for that. That was, oh God, that was at least 13 years ago, maybe more. Doing research for that, I bought everything you need to make jewelry. I don't think I had like the blowtorch. I don't think I bought the soldering iron, but I bought, they say solder in New Zealand, which I love because that is actually the way it's spelled. Um, I bought everything. I bought silver. I bought a whole kit. I probably spent, I, probably $1,000 in in the beginning kit to make jewelry in research because I was going to make jewelry as research. And I never did. I got super into reading about it. And then here's the simple truth, I was overwhelmed and too nervous, too anxious to actually try to make any jewelry. I had that anxiety that some of you may recognize that a lot of us have around writing. If I start it, then it will suck. And then I'll be so disappointed and I won't be able to continue, and that'll break my heart. So might as well not start today. Maybe I'll start tomorrow. I said that I would start making jewelry tomorrow for so long that about 2 years later, I sold everything. And I took I'm sure like, hundreds of dollars loss on it, but I did sell it all. And I never made a single piece of jewelry. And I went into the class, I think with some of that feeling still in my body. Like I probably won't be able to do this. What I make will suck. It's not going to be good. I'm not going to love it. And I loved the whole process. And also, I was pretty sensible because every time that Thorne brought out another piece of equipment that I would need to put in my house, which I cannot fit another thing in this house. It's a very small house. I thought, huh, this is great. I could take a class. I could take another class with Thorne if I want to make some more jewelry and use all of this stuff here that was at the Inverlochy Art School, which is a really big, beautiful, old, haunted Victorian house here in Wellington. And I left absolutely, well, there's some small part of me that still would love to make jewelry as a side hustle and sell it at the farmers markets because that is so romantic. Um, but another, and the major part of me is just really pleased with this beyond beautiful ring, which is asymmetrical on purpose, a little bit wonky, and absolutely perfect. And I guess I don't really have a point in sharing this except that I was really excited to do it. But the grander point that I can make is that it's better to try to do the thing, especially with support, than to be too scared and put it away, stick it under the bed, try to forget about it, and then years down the road, you haven't done it. It was magnificent, this experience. I'm still grinning about it, and I'm absolutely planning on. The teacher is planning, and I've seen this on the website before, a fidget spinner ring workshop where you make the ring and then you put the little fidget spinners into it. How fun is that going to be? So I just need to go ahead and sign up for that. And I'm so pleased that I did it. So if there's something you've been putting off doing, something that would feed your creative soul, writing or otherwise, maybe try it. If it's really hard, try it in a very supported way where there is somebody there who will hold your hand through it, like my teacher did. Many people in the class, the teacher would tell them what to do, and the person would say, okay. And I would say, can you look at this? Is this okay? Am I doing it right? I've always been the, am I doing it right kid? And it's completely okay to be the, am I doing it right kid? As long as you get somebody who is gentle and loving and encouraging. Don't be the am I doing it right kid with somebody who will say, no, get out of my way. Oof, no, we don't have time for that. We're adults. We choose. We choose who we ask these important questions of. Let's see. All right. The other thing I'm excited about right now is telling you about Holly. Holly Bowen is an emerging author of young adult fantasy and contemporary women's fiction. By the Moon is Holly's debut novel. She lives in the lakeside town of Taupō, New Zealand, with her partner, two young sons, and a sad lack of a canine companion. When she's not drinking mochas and writing in a local cafe, she can be found swimming in the lake or hiding in her garden sauna, making up stories in her head. Please enjoy this delightful interview with Holly. Please get some of your own writing done. Please join my mailing list. Tell me how you are doing. And here we go. Well, I could not be more pleased to welcome you to this show. Will you please share your name and pronouns with us?
I'm Holly Bowen, and my pronouns are she, her.
We have been looking forward to this for a while. And now you're on the show. Your first book, By the Moon, is out now. It came out how long ago? Maybe 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, like 10 days ago.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I love talking to people
Yeah,
right after their first book comes out. You know that. How has it been feeling to have your book out?
it is bizarre. It is, I think because writing is such a solitary pursuit for so long, and then, these characters have just lived inside my head for 4 years, and then suddenly people are talking to me about not only the book, but also the characters and where they think they're going to go in the next book. And it's just been crazy. So the reviews have been
Um,
amazing, which is the best thing ever.
oh, that is
Yeah.
so exciting. I have to admit that I haven't read it yet. It's on my like TBR pile and it's coming, so I can't wait to read it. But I have no doubt. Oh my gosh. So not only did you release your book, but then you got to go to an author event here in Aotearoa called
Yes.
Ages of Pages. What was that like?
It was so much fun. It was really, really amazing to go because I was going to go as a reader, and then they had some authors fall through at the last minute. And so I got a table spot. And I just loved it because in my other job, my non-writing job, I often do trade shows and sales. So it was just so exciting to talk to people and use those skills for something for my own dream. And I sold out of all
Oh,
my books, which was amazing.
you sold out of your books. And that's random strangers. Those are not your friends coming up and saying, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here." These are just people who were there to read books and they thought, "Oh, I want to read this book."
Yeah, it blew me away. It's like you can just be an author. Like who does that?
You can be an author and you can turn up to this and you can sell books in person and then you got to sign them. What was it like to sign the first few books?
Oh, it was so exciting. It was also, I've been selling them to mainly friends and family in the last few weeks and sending them out from my home. And yeah, I'm writing like a page of signatures every time. Thank you for your support. This is my dream. Yeah,
Oh,
it was really cool.
that is so gorgeous. And we've known each other for a while now, at least was it as soon as I moved here, maybe before? I can't remember, but just have been looking
Yeah.
forward to this moment so much because I have seen how much you have put into your writing and how you have approached it seriously and diligently, and you just keep coming back. So, can we please talk about your process a little bit? What does your process look like with your life as it is? You have two kids or one?
Yes, I've got two little boys, two
Two
and
little
four.
boys, and you work and you write books.
Yeah.
Holy cow, how do you do it? What's your process?
Yeah. So it is always changing. My process is always changing. And I think, the whole Clifton Strengths, I'm number three, adaptability. So
Wow, nice.
I quite like the change.
Yeah.
But I work best on like the NaNoWriMo or big, binge writing sessions. They're my
Hmm.
favorite way to write. But obviously those are not sustainable and they're quite hard to fit into your life. So generally I write 3 times a week. I go to the gym and then I go to a cafe afterwards and write there for 40 minutes or so. But if I really want to get ahead, then I go away for the weekend and I just write as much as I possibly can.
That's perfect though.
Yeah.
That sounds sustainable. The 3 times a week with the gym and then writing. And you manage to fit it into your life and real work does get done in those times.
Yes, yes. It's quite incredible how those words stack up. I know you always say this. It's
Mhm.
like books get written just in 25-minute blocks or 15
Mhm.
minute blocks, but I just chipped away at it. And so yeah, it feels like taking my dream seriously when I make time to write, which makes me happier generally.
Yeah, yeah. What has been the most exciting thing to realize about your process as you've been learning about it?
I think it is probably some of your advice, actually. It was the whole, it doesn't matter if you don't feel like writing, you just still have to write. You can't, because I've had those times, and especially when I was in my 20s, I was living in Spain. I wrote a travel blog, and it was all very creative, and that flighty muse was always there, and I loved it, and I really enjoyed the feeling of writing. And then it just, when you're trying to write a novel and it's 80,000 words, 100,000 words, it just gets a little bit relentless. And for me, it was just getting back to the page and the whole that no one's going to realize if you felt good that day or if you felt bad that day. The words they're still down there and you can still fix them later.
Not only will
So
your readers
it
not be
doesn't
able to
matter.
tell, yeah, but you won't be able to tell which were the days that you wrote
Yeah.
the words that felt like crap and which were the days that felt like you were flying. We can't tell the difference
Yeah.
between it. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is such a hard lesson to learn.
It is a hard lesson to learn. And it's one of those also that I always like to remind people and myself especially that we just forget it again and again and again. I am constantly, every day I wake up and I wait for the muse to come inspire me. And then I remember, oh, it's 9. It's 9 a.m. I better go do some writing. The muse is not here yet and I need to
Yeah.
go show up.
She's not coming.
But you've been such like you've been at a lot of the write-ins that I've held and just you just always show up. You just show up and do the work. And I just think it's incredible
Yeah.
and I'm so
I
glad that your
find
book is out.
Yeah, and I find the body doubling really helps. I love writing with people on Zoom, which I
Hmm.
thought was the weirdest idea when I first heard about it,
It doesn't make
but
any
it
sense.
works so well.
Yeah, it shouldn't work
No,
because I mean, honestly, we could all turn up and just, I mean, why would we? But we could be doing something else. We could be watching, something on Netflix in our headphones. Nobody is seeing our
yeah,
computer, but we don't. We show up and we work next to each other in this Zoom room, which feels really intimate. I feel like we're
Yeah.
hanging out together and then we get our work
Yeah, it
done.
does. And it's also, I realized another thing about myself because I'm number one positivity, number two empathy. And
Oh,
so when I
oh,
write
wow.
intense emotional scenes, I often cry and all sorts of things. And I realized when I'm writing those, I do have to turn my camera off because otherwise I try and keep my face
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
but it still works for me. Even with my camera off, it still helps.
What a great tip too for people who don't want to
Yeah,
like that because that is super, super vulnerable. And I doubt anyone would ever notice because nobody's also looking at each other. But in order to protect yourself and to protect that vulnerability, you know that you can just
yeah,
turn your camera off. You're still with everybody and you're doing the work.
yeah. Just bawling my eyes out.
It's true that sometimes I do peek, or like when I come back to tell people it's time for a break, and Ed, my assistant and friend, is often like bebopping, just like dancing in his chair with the music while he's writing. It's just so it's so cute, and I do love to
I
see
love
people.
it.
I know everybody loves Ed. His ears are burning.
He's great.
He's in Japan right now as we're recording this. All right, so can you tell us
Oh,
what
cool.
is the part of writing that you struggle most with?
Mm. I think it's actually just getting the time to write. Like it's finding that time and making it fit in my life. And for so long, especially I think as a mother, but everybody has that problem that it just always feels like the last priority. It's always only if you get a little bit of extra time, then you could do some writing. So I've really worked quite hard on my mindset that it is a priority and I do need to make it happen.
Do
And then
you
once I get to the page, the struggle is the inner critic, just turning it off.
Yeah. Yeah, empathizing. Do you remember when you turned that corner in the mindset to know that, do you remember if was there something that happened, or do you remember the moment when you just decided this is something I have to prioritize? And you may not remember.
Yeah, yeah, I do remember actually. I had a sudden realization like one day I'm going to die. Everybody's going to die. And what if I'm lying on my deathbed and I'm telling people about this book that I always talked about and I just never even tried to write it? And that just it just suddenly struck me as being completely unacceptable. Like I was not going to do that. I had to at least try, and maybe it would be crap, and maybe it would sell three copies, but I had to at least try and get the book out.
That is incredible. I have goosebumps. And also, let's just take a moment to think about this fact that now the book is out there and people are reading it, and there's probably somebody reading it right now as we're talking. Somebody is
Yeah,
sitting on a couch or in a chair reading your words that you made that did not exist before you strung them together, before you had that revelation that you needed to do it and nobody else was going to do it. Nobody was ever going to make you do it. Nobody ever makes us write our books. We
yeah,
have to make ourselves the priority and our writing the priority.
yeah. It's wild.
It's so cool. All right, let's
Yeah,
talk craft a little bit. Can you share a writing craft tip of any sort or two with us?
yeah. Again, a lot of these are going to be advice from you because been listening to you for so long. But I really
We always
like
want to
to
hear things
craft.
over and over again because we forget them.
Yeah, we'll repeat them. I really like the craft tip of if you have a realization while you're usually drafting, then just write a little note to fix it later. If this character is now a boy or person's now related or this one doesn't exist anymore, just write a note and then just continue writing forward as if it was done and you've already fixed it. Because I feel like most people, but especially for my brain, I would just get stuck in the weeds if I have to go back and fix it all before I can continue with the story. So I really like that of just adding a note for yourself because I always thought, how am I going to fix this? Like a hundred
Mhm.
thousand words if there's notes everywhere and I have to fix it. It's too much work, but it's not, and you do
It's not.
fix it.
It's not. And the things that you do end up changing like that and pretending as if everything behind you in the book is written perfectly up until that point. They're usually they're either the bigger things that will be easily fixed because, you're changing
Mm,
this person to another person or you're getting rid of this person entirely, or they're really small things. Pretend as if she didn't go to the store in the last scene. Great. That was a
mm.
2 minute cleanup when you're back in revision. So there's a lot of cleanup, but it allows us to keep moving forward. I'm so glad that that helps you. It helps me
Yeah,
on a
and some
daily
of those
basis.
little cleanups, yes,
Yep.
and some of those little cleanups, I find they're really real dopamine kicks. It takes you
Yes.
2 minutes to do it, and you're like, yes, I did that.
I'm so glad you said that. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that on the show, but they stack up and you're like, "Oh, there's so much to do." But then when you go in and start doing them, it's not like doing dishes. It's like finding gems and you are the only one who
Yeah,
can pull this gem out of the mountain and it's easy and you pull it and then you go to the next one. It's incredible
yeah.
doing those little fixes.
And when, especially when it's something like, yeah, make her not go to the store, that takes,
Yeah.
it's like two sentences and you can fix it. If it's
Yeah.
fix her motivation in the whole novel, that's harder. But
But
I,
again,
I
that
love
can be
those
said.
little
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And we can move forward.
Yeah,
Thank you for reminding me of that one. I appreciate that.
yeah.
Can you tell us what the kindest thing is you've ever done for yourself as a writer?
I think it's generally just taking it seriously and spending money on it.
Mm,
Especially, I was a stay-at-home mum for a long time
mm,
and it was my dream and it just felt very indulgent and almost silly to spend money on this hobby that may or may not make money.
mhm,
But so I spent money on a cover and an editor and another editor and went down to the Romance Writers of New Zealand conference, which was amazing. But I think the biggest one, like the biggest kindness that stands out to me is I went and got an Airbnb in Matamata and I
mm.
did your Writing in the Junkyard online retreat.
That's
And I
right.
took so much stuff to that Airbnb by myself, like all my crystals, all my candles. And I even took my office chair so I would be
Oh,
comfortable. And I just
so
wrote
smart.
for 3 days. Yeah, it was
Oh,
great. And I got 20,000 words that weekend. It just felt so good.
I remember that weekend, and you absolutely blew everyone else out. You had by far the most words written that week. I love that you took your office chair. Um, I tell you what, when I go on, so I just went, out of town and I took a backpack. When I travel on airplanes, I can go in a backpack and I can have,
Mm.
I'm wearing one pair of clothes and I'll two changes of clothes and that's all I need and I'll just do laundry in the sink. But when I go on retreat, I take my car and like 8 New World grocery bags of candles and food and tarot cards and journals and everything I might possibly need. It's like a whole family going on a trip, just me to go on retreat. It's great. I love it. Would you
Yeah,
do that
you're like,
again?
I might need this.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I'm going to Sydney on a work trip in September, and I'm going the weekend before, and I've got an Airbnb booked in Coogee Beach, so I'm really excited to just knuckle down, do some riding and beach walking.
And that's perfect to append it onto a trip that you would already have to do. So you're already going to be there. It's not like you're flying to
Yeah,
Sydney just for this, and that's amazing. Although that would be cool too. But oh, I love
yeah.
that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing
Hmm.
that. And please, I want to know how that goes too. Can you tell us about a specific moment that you knew you had ink in your veins?
Yeah, this one is I have a couple. I once was when I was in Spain and writing that travel blog, and
Mhm.
I remember feeling like the muse was there with me. And I would go to this, we worked in a restaurant in Mallorca, which is one of the Balearic Islands. And I used to go to this plaza and I would order a beer and croquettes, and then I would write my travel blog. And it just felt so magical. I think every writer has had that time where you feel like I am writing incredible stuff here.
Yes,
And
totally.
this is amazing. And so that
And
was
also it's
definitely
the
one of them.
glamorous romantic view of it too. You're
Yeah,
thinking to myself, I'm writing incredible stuff and I'm sitting in a plaza with a beer and the sun is
yeah,
shining and the woman is singing in the corner of the courtyard. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I am the artist.
If people haven't had
Yeah,
that
it was.
experience yet, go get it because it's good.
Yeah, God, yes, it's worth it, definitely. And then another one was when I was, I think I was about 8, and I got given a certificate for creative writing at school. And I remember it was when I was sitting in the car and my parents were in a gas station, like pumping gas, and I was looking out, and I remember writing that the clouds were like shredded wool, and the hose on the driveway opposite was in the sunshine. It looked like molten gold, the water running down, and I still remember that, and I was 8 when I wrote that story.
Wow.
And I love that kind of description part of it. So that was a real ink in my veins moment.
And you remembered it. It like seared itself into your memory because because it meant something, because it meant so much to you. And now you're
Yeah,
here like honoring that little girl. who is doing that work. How beautiful is that?
Yes, and it feels quite precious,
Yeah.
to do it because I remember I always wanted to be an author, and then I don't think anyone ever said to me that that was not a viable job option, but I just somehow got it in my head that it wasn't. And then when I was in my 20s, I remember speaking to a family friend about what I was doing, and I was working in tourism, loved my job, and she said, "Oh, I always thought you'd be an author." And I remember thinking, "That's an option. I'm allowed to be an author."
Why didn't you tell me that?
Yeah, it just felt really shocking. Like,
Are you
what?
still in
Am
touch
I
with that
allowed to be an
person at all?
author? Yes, I am. Yeah, she's reading my book at the moment.
Does she know that? Did she remember that moment? Have you reminded her of that?
No, I should tell her.
You should
Yeah, I
tell
should
her
tell her.
because it is, or like just send her this podcast and tell her to, roll to minute 23 or whatever we're at.
Yes.
I think that would be absolutely gorgeous. And I'm like you, no one sat me down and said that's a bad idea. You should go to business school, in university.
Mm,
Nobody said that to me, but I did the same thing. I'm like, well, that can't be a thing. And then I failed out of college like over and over and over again. I almost got kicked out so long in business. I spent 7 years not getting kicked out and then finally decided to switch to English and, completed. But
yeah.
I just was trying to be sensible because I thought that's what I had to be,
Mm,
you know?
yeah. And I feel like for me, it's telling people that I wanted to be an author. It almost felt like saying, I want to be a model or I want to be an
Hmm.
actress. Like something very flighty that you couldn't just decide to be. It was just the lucky few got to do it. Whereas it's not really like that anymore. And you can just be an author if you just keep showing up.
I know that there is somebody listening right now who just really got that those words just sunk into their bones. And that person or people who are listening who just heard Zahali say that, who it sunk in, I'm looking forward to hosting you on the show when your book comes out. So, excellent. May
Yeah.
I ask
Keep
you,
writing.
keep writing, keep doing it. What is the best book that you have read recently, and why did you love it?
My one is I read a book by a guy I went to school with, actually. He's an author and he lives in Melbourne. And he wrote 17 Years Later, and it's J.P. Pomare,
Hmm.
and it's a crime thriller. It is
Ooh.
so beautiful. It is based on the Bain murders. If you know about them, they were like a
No.
famous case in New Zealand, and a lot of people died. And basically, it's based on that. So it's like a cold case, but it's a podcaster who's going back to New Zealand, and it's set in Cambridge in New Zealand, and it's
Oh.
really moody, atmospheric, and he's just such a wonderful writer. It's
Oh,
a
I'm
great
gonna,
book. I
I'm
highly
gonna
recommend it.
put that on the TBR pile too. Thank you very much. And now, speaking of awesome books, will you please tell us about your book?
Yeah. So By the Moon is I've got it here for
It's
anyone who's
such a
watching.
beautiful
But
cover.
yeah, I love my cover. I was delighted. Holly Dunn did it. She lives down in
Oh,
Glenorchy,
yeah.
and yeah, so she hand letters all the illustrations. So it is a classic quest novel, and the log line that I've chosen for it is it's The Hunger Games meets Mulan, and so it's an underestimated teenage girl, and she has to go across the realm to save her village. She has powers that grow a lot as she travels, and she has to overcome amazing obstacles. And it's just exactly the kind of book that I inhaled as a teenager. I love these kind of, underestimated girl who has to really stand
Yes.
up and quest out into danger.
I
And the
still
reviews
inhale
have been
those.
amazing so far. Yeah,
Oh.
that's cool. It's a fun story.
And remind me, what are you working on now? Is it in the same world, sequel, or is it something different?
Yeah, I'm working on the sequel at the moment.
That's what I thought.
So I'm about 65,000 words first drafting. So I need to speed it up based on everyone's feedback because I spent about 4 years working on this one.
What a wonderful thing to know, though, is that people are waiting for it. Right now, there are people waiting for it.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, it is wild. And just for people to read it and then the feedback to come back and be incredible because I sort of got to a point with it. I'd worked on it for 4 years and I did like 9 drafts and passes and then
Mm.
finally got to the point where I think I heard a quote that I think on your podcast or maybe Sasha Black's, oh, RIP the podcast.
I know, R.I.P. Sasha Black's podcast. Oh.
Yeah, not Sasha Black, but the podcast. Um, but it was, you learn a lot more from writing 20 books than you do from rewriting your first book 20 times.
Ooh, I don't
And
think that
I
must have been on
think I
Sasha's
just
because I
needed,
don't remember that. That's really, really good.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was like you just there's comes a point where you just need to get it out there, and it
Well,
needs
and
to
the other,
breathe and just take off and
yeah.
be in the world.
And the other thing is that our hearts and our brains say that we could keep rewriting it and making it better. And that is probably true because our brains will always come up with another idea. But we have to, it's never going to stop. We could do that for the rest of our lives, but it's not going to make it that much better. It may
Yeah,
make it like a half of a half of a half of a half% better. Who cares? Get it out, And
yeah.
that's
So
so, so, so,
it's
so
much more
true.
exciting to me to start the sequel and write the
Hmm.
sequel and then see where it all goes. So yeah, hopefully in the next few months I will be releasing another one.
And the first one is called By the Moon. Where can we find you?
Yeah, so I'm quite active on Instagram at Holly Bowen Author, and I also have a website, hollybowen.com, and you can buy paperbacks if you're in New Zealand. I ship signed paperbacks, and you can also buy ebooks on there, or I'm on Amazon and Kobo and everything like that as well.
Fabulous. I just please let me say congratulations. I'm just so tickled pink that we are here having this conversation. It could not make me happier. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. You're in the acknowledgements
I have the book
for
already. I
all
have
of
it.
your
I
advice.
I pre-ordered it and now I'm just gonna go like dip in just to look at that. Oh,
Yeah,
that's so sweet. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
that's how helpful this podcast has been to me.
oh,
It's been amazing.
that makes me so happy. Thank you, Holly. Thank you. Thank you.